Colin and Lewis, the Tarkingtons have done a massive thing to push dyslexia forward, which I feel is quite close to my heart. I've struggled with dyslexia all through my childhood, so seeing something like this is incredible. I'm very, very happy. I wish something was around when I was growing up somewhere in the 90s, to be unspecific. But Lewis, you took a while to get into motorsport. Why was that?
It was simply because my dad didn't give me the opportunity. My dad was too busy racing himself, and it does take a lot of time and money to get fully invested in karting, and we just didn't really have that at the time, so it was sort of put to one side, but eventually it gave me the opportunity to get stuck in, and look where we are now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Colin, full-time BDC champion, you've raced around the world. I mean, your first championship win was at 19. You've had quite the career. Never thought about dragging the kids in earlier?
Yeah, I think on reflection, we were given him the experience off track, building sort of that side. But, Lewis's first race was in 2009. I think he was 3 months old, and it was the Brands Hatch season final, and it was the first sort of British Touring Car Championship I have won. And 10 months later, then Adam came along. So the boys were brought up at racetracks, and we never felt guilty about taking them out of school. Quite often they would have missed a Friday, missed a Monday. We still lived back in Northern Ireland then, so we knew they were learning so much just being with us, interacting with adults. Lewis would always have been the one in the garage with the with the earphones on, listening to everything that was going on, between myself and my engineer. So he was getting that off-track education. We knew at the time we couldn't really, we just didn't have the time to let the boys go karting, and especially being based in Northern Ireland there. But we knew sort of the time would be right. And once we moved to England, Lewis and I would have come down to Wilton. We just played about with go-karts. We just tried to enjoy it. And then in the sort of Christmas of maybe 2002 or so, that he got his first car. And, 2022, maybe it was closer to that. He sort of we give him the opportunity, and let them flourish.
I think that's a good thing. I always wonder if you push kids into something too young, they can kind of try it, then move away from it. But something you touched on that actually both of you, Esther and Aimee, brought up was the education and what else motorsport brings. People think of it as this very elite, small community of people who like to spend a lot of money on silly cars, but it's actually not the case at all. It's one of the most inclusive communities of sport you could probably get. What other sport allows any gender, any age, any ability to compete on the same grid? And that's not even talking about all the other members involved. Your education obviously would have been a little bit of a struggle with dyslexia. Coming into motorsport, how much has that impacted you and how you developed as a person, being exposed to that education?
Well, originally when I started school, I really struggled. My teachers didn't really understand why I was struggling so much. They sort of just put me to the back of the class and didn't really care, which in theory is it's insane, but that's what they do, and there's not really much you can do about that. But I put in a lot of effort in school, and eventually started to overcome that and catch everyone else up. And then I think that's sort of been my mindset, just to always try my best, because I've been able to see that from trying my best, I've caught up with everyone else and is as good, if not better, than other people. And I think in the motorsport world, it's completely the same. There's some things that we think differently when we're racing, even when it's down to taking notes, it's hard just to write what you feel on paper. But it's such a big community, motorsport. I think a lot of people have it. It's one of the sports I think that is dominated mostly, well not mostly, but it's very popular among dyslexic people to go that way. But just in school with my dyslexia, it really taught me just to try my best, and things will fall into place, and I think the same has happened with my motorsport career.
I mean, I would say that you are very charismatic and easy to speak to, and that lends itself. But for some kids, maybe it's the growing up around the motorsport and speaking to the adults, but for some kids, school can really knock you down with your confidence, and you can come out the opposite way around. So I think this is really important, is bringing other people in. So What would you like to do with driving dyslexia forward in the future? Where would you like to see it spreading, both of you?
Well, the reason we started up Driving Dyslexia Forward Club was sort of just to spread it, because we set up Driving Dyslexia Forward originally, but by creating a club, we've been able to spread it to a lot more people, spreading the word, building a bigger community. So the end goal is just to make the community as big as possible. So over time, we'll be able to put more things into it and expand it, and hopefully I can help some people that have dyslexia in school at the moment that are really struggling and give them some of my tips.
Yeah, Louise is probably the one to ask about this question. She's the brains behind the operation, but I think, just touching on what Lewis was saying about, motorsport and inclusivity, it's, if we weren't competing in motorsport, we probably wouldn't all be together on race weekends. I think from now right through to the end of the year, pretty much all bar, I think, 2 weekends, we're at a racetrack, either for me, Lewis, or Adam. And, if we weren't competing in motorsport, that probably we'd all be segregated doing something else. And I think for kids of Lewis's age, it's just so important to have goals in life. Be working towards things. Be passionate about whatever your sport may be. And through motorsport, you meet like-minded people. There's so many people in the same boat as Lewis, or maybe they have other difficulties in life, like we all do. So the beauty, as many people in this room will know, of being involved in sport, and especially motorsport, once the helmet goes on, everything else, you don't think about anything else. You're locked in your happy place, in your zone, and all you're thinking about is, how do I go faster? How do I pass him? And it's that little bit of escapism for whatever half an hour. It's the best place to be, and I think that's ultimately the motorsport drug. That's why we all love it. And then when you win a race or you achieve your goals, then it's you couldn't be happier.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you end up having a horrible race, if you've got good people around you. But actually, it's interesting. You say a lot of people with some dyslexia. I say neurospicy. I like that term. But on my motorsport license, it's the only time I've ever been asked, do you take medication for ADHD? It's obviously that common that it comes up, so actually it does attract the neurospices, let's say. People who like to go round in circles like 1,000 times and still find it fun. But hey, we're all guilty of it. And didn't we have fun today? Would you do it 1,000 times? Absolutely. But guys, I think what you're doing is absolutely brilliant, honestly. I think the more education that people have to understand why this is going on, not just for the people themselves, but for the people around them, it's just going to bring so much more potential. How much potential is wasted by kids who have been told they're not good at something? So thank you, all the neurospices. Thank you very much for doing what you're doing. Is there anything you'd like to add to sum up this day, which has been a very, very good launch, by the way?
I just want to commend, Lewis and others like him for for speaking out, for embracing what he has, sort of seeing it as a superpower. People will always say to me, "Oh, it must be really hard for you, a young lad, following in your name." And I'm like, not really, because Lewis's brain isn't wired that way. He doesn't think of me as anyone else than just dad. He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't feel like he has to live up to what I've done. He's on his own path, and that's probably what makes me most proud. He's just doing his own thing, and let's see where it goes to.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone once again for coming here. It's been a great day. Everyone's had fun, and the main thing is everyone's got talking to each other. I think that's a big thing. That motorsport gives, especially for dyslexic people. It's so easy just to start talking to people about what's going on racing wise, and I think that brings everyone together very well, and I've seen that today, so I'm very impressed and proud of everyone just speaking, and just finding new people to know.
Finding the tribe. It's a brilliant idea. I'm so excited to see this grow and expand and meet a load of like-minded people and see them going around in circles together. Well done, guys. Well done, Tarkington. Thank you. Thank you.